What is up, Honey Badger Nation? This is John Kitchens, and welcome to episode 157 of Expert Mentors Live. I'm really pumped up for today's episode. We've got the one and only Mr. Knolly Williams back on with us. Knolly, what's up?
What's up? What's up? Episode 157. You know, it's not easy to do what you do, man. It's you make it look easy, but it's not easy. So it's always good to be with you, John. And I just got to say this right off the jump, man. I appreciate what you do. You are doing a super valuable service for the Honey Badger Nation. We appreciate you, man. It takes a big heart to coach, teach, train, show up every day, be positive, and encourage other people. And that's what you do. And you do it not for the money. You do it because it's just what you do, man. It's what's in your heart. You're a giver, and you get the joy and satisfaction of helping other people. You get to do that every day. So you got the best job in the world. So I appreciate you, man. Seriously,
brother, I appreciate that so much. And it was great being able to connect with you in Nashville a few weeks ago. And I was really looking forward to today's conversation. And, for those of you tuning in for the first time, I had Knolly back on episode 95. And I think this was just weeks before the country got shut down, right before the pandemic hit. And we had an incredible conversation. It's one of my favorite expert mentors conversations because just your energy, your passion, your story, just coming from a place of just contribution and giving, but also provided a ton of value at the time to the community and really where to focus their business and their attention. And I know we're going to dive into a little bit about that today. I did want to just kind of get your thoughts right from the jump. What's in your mind, that conversation that we had, middle of March 2020 to where things are at today, like kind of what from your perspective that you see, as an agent, as a human being moving forward in this business that's happened over, what are we now, the last 15, 16 months, kind of what's your perspective, your take from your vantage point that you've seen?
Well, it's an interesting question. It's a great question, actually. And right when the pandemic hit, we all sprung into action. At first it was like a little bit of recoil, like, okay, what? And then you just look at your tribe and you're like, okay, what do they need? And back then, John, you remember they had the deer in the headlights look, and they started off in fear, and then it went to panic. It's like, what am I going to do? How am I going to survive? How am I going to pay my mortgage? How am I going to do business? So there was a lot of fear in the business. So what you did and what I did is the same thing. We roll up our sleeves and we just started helping agents, man. We're like, look, it's not the end of the world. Here's what you want to focus on. Here's what you want to do. And so I came out with this 6-month series that I did every single week where I was teaching people how to navigate, through the pandemic. And lo and behold, here comes this low inventory market, sky high pricing, crazy opportunity, which you always know, if the market is good, you're going to have a great time in real estate. If the market is bad, you're going to do 2 or 3 times better. That's just how it goes if you know how to play the game. And so so fast forward to today, it's everybody's like, man, there's too much competition. There's just not enough inventory. There's, we have more of that conversation, going on. But I would have never predicted what happened to happen from an inventory standpoint, because inventory levels were already been at a 5-year low, and COVID just kind of pushed it into crazy land. And to me, it's like the best opportunity I've ever seen in real estate. I've been in the business since 2003. I've got, business partners that have been in a lot longer than me. Nobody's ever seen anything like this ever in our industry. And the opportunity to just really, if you're focused on listings, I got to say that if you're focused on buyer, your life is hell,
Yeah.
But listings, man, that's what I teach. That's what I preach. That's what I believe. That's what I wrote a 450-page book about, is listings. That's what it's all about. So anyway, going forward, we think it's going to continue like this, low inventory, and the listers are going to just crush it, man. They're just licking their fingers, man, and can't, and counting the commission. Anyway, that's kind of where I see things.
Yeah. And, it was fantastic. And I know one of, the third segment that we talked about in March was pre-foreclosure. I mean, you were given some interesting statistics on pre-foreclosure on the rise. Obviously, the government helped stall that out, but in my mind, I mean, that still has to be there.
Yeah. I listed a house this week, and we actually have the inspection today at 1 o'clock. And this lady, this is an interesting story. She came to me as a short sale, which we don't have many of those anymore, but this was right before the pandemic hit. So when the pandemic hit, she has a compromised immune system. So she was like, I'm not going anywhere. Plus I don't have to pay my mortgage. So they're not going to kick me out anyway. Right. So think about it, man. She's been living in this house since February of last year, March or whatever it was. And we actually had it under contract, John, under contract. And the day it was scheduled to close was like, it was like a week after the pandemic hit, right? So now, guess what? The moratorium is over, and they're like, no more free lunch, no more free passes. But now her home is no longer a short sale. Okay, back then it was worth $217. I could scrape $217 together to get it sold. Today we got it under contract for $345.
Wow.
$345. So she's walking away with like 60 grand in her pocket, versus walking away with like $1,000 of, right. Hey, here's your $1,000 to get the hell out. Right. So it's quite a different situation, quite a different industry. But the reason why she reached out to me is because the bank made no bones about the fact that the moratorium is gone and that they're coming after her house. And so she was like, okay, I got to do something. And so you're going to see a lot of that on the horizon. I don't know how it's going to look, because really at the end of the day, banks don't want these houses. They don't want the inventory. They just want, now if they're smart, they might see some equity and they could do their numbers, but they really just want to get paid. They're in the money business. That's right. Their only business. They know. So a lot of people are like, man, banks are in the real estate, mortgage companies in the real estate business. They're not. They're in the money business. They service loans and they get paid. That's how they make money. And so you're going to see, though, a lot of homeowners taking a serious look at, what am I going to do? Am I going to just, because the debt that they've incurred by not paying their mortgage, which is millions of people, okay, it's not going away. All right. And the good thing is that their equity is probably climbed as well, so they have an opportunity there, But there's going to be quite a few listings coming up. I'll share with the audience too some other listing sources that I think will be very beneficial to tap into during this, this next 18 months, if you will, as well.
I love that. I love that. So yeah, I know that'll kind of unfold through the conversation today, and definitely, hitting on the topic of, kind of that niche market. And so kind of explain what that means, right? Some people see it, but I want to make sure they understand, the true definition behind it, and we're all on the same page.
So this is what we're here to talk about today: is niches equals riches. Okay. How do you, in my opinion, you got a niche to get rich. How do you spot a niche? How do you figure out, okay, this is the niche for me, etc. And this is a pivotal call, John, because I've never actually taught on this specifically. It's part of the body of information that I teach, but not too specific on, okay, how do you identify a niche and so on. So we're going to talk about that today. But let me say before I do that, when you're talking about the listing game, okay, I took over 1,000 listings my first 10 years in real estate. Okay, I got out of the gate almost like when I was in diapers. I got into listings, and I have my inventory sheet. Okay, I was with Prudential for 74 days. Okay, 74 days, long enough to realize that 60-40 split wasn't working for me, and I could get more money at Remax. So I was there for 74 days, and when I left, I took my book of business, my sheet, okay, and I had taken 21 listings in 74 days. 21. Now, when you see the list, you won't be as impressed as what it sounds, because they're like 39,000, 40,000, 50,000. You're talking back in the day, distressed economy stuff back in 2003.
I know that
But
game.
I had listings, and the muscle memory that you build when you get in the listing game, that man, I just closed one for 1.6, and it's the same, actually less work. It's less work than 100,000. It's less work.
100%.
So what I did, John, one day I was, I don't know if you know Kevin Cooper, he's in Sacramento area.
I do.
Yeah. So I was at Kevin Cooper's house, and I was hanging out, and I had a couple of seminars going on back when I was at Keller Williams, and I was in the shower, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, where do these listings come from? Because when you get really good at the game, just like you're a coach, and people like, man, if they ever ask you, like, where do you get your coaching leads? You're like, they just come from everywhere. It's just like it's raining coaching leads. I mean, listen to this. My group, Mentorship Masters, they love you, man. And they always reach out to me. Hey, man, should we hire John? I was like, what kind of question is that? Like, do you want to succeed, or, oh, you want to fail, huh? Oh, no, I want to succeed. Well, that's that. You just answered your own question. Yes, hire John. So when you get really good at it, at the game, you're like, okay, where's all this business coming from? I know, I track every lead. So I went back, I tracked it. There was like 12, 15 sources, right? But when I deduced it, John, it was really only 3 buckets. Okay, 3 lead buckets, that all the listing leads that I've ever gotten. And at this time, I think I'd taken like 800-900 listings at that point. And all of them came to 3 buckets. Number 1, your sphere of influence. That's your biggest bucket, your SOI. Okay. And there's a systematic approach that I teach on how to work that bucket. Okay. It takes about 2 hours a week, and to get every ounce of juice that you can squeeze out of it. Okay. That's your sphere of influence. Number 2 is your farm. Okay. That's your farm. That's a geographical area where you have decided that you're going to be the mayor of that geographic area. It could be 1,000 homes, 2,500, could be 500 houses. Then, and there's a formula for that. There's a system. And the 3rd bucket is your niche. Okay, you got a niche to get rich. Now, if you move to a brand new area, you don't have an SOI, you haven't started your farm, which most agents haven't. Most agents suck at their SOI. They're not good at it. They don't build a farm, and they're like, what's a niche? Niche what? What you niching?
What?
So, or a niche, if we're in New York, they're going to correct me quick. Niche is what they call it. So the thing is, today we're talking about niche. If you hit a brand new market, if I was like to parachute into Boston and say I'm going to take over, I would start with a niche, because I don't have an SOI and I don't have a farm, and the niche is the easiest thing to start. When you work a niche, it answers 2 questions. Number 1, what do you have that all the rest of the agents in the room don't? Okay. What makes you different and unique? What's your USP, your unique selling proposition? And then the second thing it answers is, what makes you different than all the other agents in town? What makes you different? And when you answer those questions, it's the reason why a cardiologist, okay, makes about $156,000 more than a general practitioner. Okay. A GP works 30% more hours for $156,000 a year less. And guess what? They're 50% more likely to work nights and weekends, because they're irrelevant. I can go to any general practitioner. Yeah, okay, this one. Oh no, he's too far away. He's like, man, that guy's like 4 miles from my house. There's one from 2 miles. But then guess what? You got a heart problem, you got some diabetic issue, you got something. You're gonna drive 40 miles. You might even go like I heard yesterday, my sister-in-law that went to Alaska to seek out a specialist. Now she lives in Houston, Texas, but her husband has a particular, situation, and went to Alaska to meet with a guy, that's a specialist. So when you become an expert in a niche, people will fly to Alaska and they'll pay you big bucks. Right. You basically write your own pricing, your own, fees, because you really stand out. You're unique in that area.
I love that. So in Knolly, do you tend to, and I would love for you to give maybe just some simple how-tos to come to that, to that, but do you feel like agents, man, they just overcomplicate that process?
Of course. Yeah, they absolutely do. They overthink it, they overcomplicate it. And when you really think about it, because one of the big questions I get all the time, John, because I teach starting, and everybody that's listening to the sound of this or on this, this podcast right now, you should have this book in your arsenal, Success with Listings. People want to pick my brain all the time. Nolly, how'd you do that? Nolly, my brain is expensive to pick. I guarantee you. You go look at my coaching rates, you'd be like, man, I ain't picking his brain no time soon. But I went ahead and picked it. Okay, it took 450 pages. And so this is all stuff that I talk about. Well, one of the big questions that I get is how do I pick a niche? How do I decide on what, and that's one question. Second biggest question I get around this is how do I become a expert at the niche that I pick? Okay, now let's tackle the second question real quick first, and then I'm gonna throw it back to you. But so how do you become how do you become not well known, but how do you become an expert in any field? You study that field. Okay, I'm reading a book right now, Go Pro. You know what's up. It's the first time I started reading this. You already know about the book, and Jay's been telling us to read that for a long time. So I started reading it this morning, and so he talks about this whole concept where you start off, you got the wannabes, the posers, he calls them. Then you got the amateurs, then you got the professionals. Okay. So most real estate agents, they get in the game, they're posers. They call 3 or 4 people, they sell a couple of deals, they're out of the game. Then we got the amateurs, which makes up probably 80%. Okay. And they just dabble, man, and they feast or famine throughout their whole career. And then they go out broke. But then you got the professionals, man. They study the game. They look under the covers. They figure it out. And when it comes to a niche, it's no different. You decide what niche you want, and then you just study everything about it. That's it. You study everything about. Not only should I get a designation, look, you should do everything within your power. And I guarantee you this: you will never, ever, 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 write this down now. You'll never spend more than one commission check, okay, studying everything there is to know about the particular niche you chose. So let's say, for example, I'm selling this house for $350. My commission is going to be about 11 grand, okay, somewhere around there. And 3.5%, whatever that number that is. I guarantee you won't spend $10,000 learning any niche, okay, and it's worth it to learn, right? So that's what I want to say about that. Agents are overcomplicating it. It's not that complicated.
No, it's not. Definitely recommend the GoPro. Definitely tuning into his Eric Worre's podcast. I tell you, just you were talking through that Stephen Pressfield's books. He has the one Turning Pro. He really hits on that as well, right? Making the decision to move to pro versus being an amateur and what that means. And it's just becoming the absolute student, right?
Absolutely.
It's the whole, NAEA, National Association of Expert Advisors, right?
Yep.
Expert in your field. Yeah. And, all of the things that encompass that to be an expert. And so absolutely. But really, Knolly, it all starts in the mind, right? Making the decision to move from, amateur status to pro status.
Yeah. And the cool thing about the gift of a niche is people call you, man. People call you. When I first started in the game, my niche was expireds. That's what the game was back then. You're talking 2003, 2004. But quickly it changed to short sales. When the market shifted and the only reason that someone didn't list with me because they couldn't pay my fee. And I was like, crap, how can I get them to not have to pay my fee? It's one of the big reasons I joined EXP. I was like, how do I get people to not have to pay for my programs, even though they're worth it? They're worth like a lot more than I charge, but people don't like to pay money. I never understood that, but a lot of people don't. Hey, I don't like to pay money either. I like free. But when it comes to something that my business, I invest. I invest. So yeah, it's I'm gonna throw it back to you because I can kind of be a little
long-winded. I love that, and you nailed the key word right there. Most agents look at it as an expense instead of an investment.
Right.
And what you invest in, you get a return on. And so if you look at it, okay, well, I'm making this investment, and then you hold that investment to a return. you're going to pay more attention to it. So I love that you nailed that key word. But you triggered something when you said, short sales, and it goes back to whatever niche you pick. How are you becoming a student of that niche? And I remember, CDPE, Alex Sharfin, Jay and Michael flew down, toured the office, which was the most amazing office at the time. And
absolutely
just sucked everything out of what he was doing. And, how do we model that and implement it into our business? And then it's like, man, we're in survival mode. We have to change things up. Right. So we would go in and we would collect $1,000 to take the short sale process to even get it started, because we need that money to maintain cash flow.
No doubt.
And so when you become that student and you're really studying and you're sucking everything out to position yourself as the go-to authority, the expert on that niche, man, what are all the ways, right?
Yeah.
What are all the ways to be able to make this niche, cash flow and get a return on that investment?
I wrote a book. I don't, you probably never even seen this one. This is 7 Days to Success with Short Sales.
I'm glad I never saw that book.
Now this one right here is 340 pages. But I'm always trying to document, man. I'm a student of success. I read a lot of books and I write books too. But I always want to know how do I do something at the highest level? Yeah. And at one time, man, we had 121 listings on the books at one time. Now I got another friend of mine that crushes that. She had like 300-400 at a time. Crazy, just crazy, man. But there's always going to be somebody that outdoes you. But life was pretty good. I mean, when the market was the worst, I made the most money. And people were calling me left and right because that was my niche. That's what I did. Right. When I did expires, I was like the cleanup man. Oh, your agent couldn't get it done. Watch Uncle Knolly. Watch how I do it. I wasn't Uncle Knolly back then because I was in my 30s. Now I'm in my 50s. Like I'm Uncle Knolly. So it's all good.
Yeah, it's all good.
So yeah.
So this is great. I think everybody's starting to kind of get some context around what a niche is and being able to to identify that. So looking kind of the landscape and the temperature of the market of where it's at today.
Yeah.
Looking at, hey guys, these are a couple options that you really need to consider.
Yeah.
Look at, what are some real viable options for agents, moving into, really, we're really preparing for 22 and beyond right now. So what would you say, hey, we need to be paying attention to these particular areas?
Yeah. What I want to do, that's a great question, actually. I'm going to jump to, my chapter on niche is chapter 9, Perfect. Your niche. And so if you guys have this book, which you should have it, okay, if you got the book,
what's the easiest way to get it if they don't have it, Knolly?
I would say probably the easiest way is just jump on Amazon and get it. Okay. And if anybody can't afford it, just reach out and we'll send you the PDF. Okay. You're like, man, Knolly, I'm broke. I had a guy, I'm going to share this story real quick before I move forward. Because the guy, I just got off the phone with him an hour ago, and he went to one of my seminars. Now here, you talk about a will, there's a way. Okay. And I really call this the paycheck you'll never spend. Right. But this guy went to one of my events in Cambridge, Massachusetts. He sat on the second row. Okay. I didn't recognize him from anybody else during the event. Right. But later on, he wrote me and he said, Knolly, I went on a listing appointment. He bought my back then I would sell, and I still sell it, my overnight celebrity success toolkit. Okay. And it has everything every single document, all my pre-listing package, everything. It even has the book. I actually wrote a book called Consider It Sold, which is a complete guide to selling your home. And I licensed this with all my other materials, and it's $1,000. Okay. And guess what, John? He didn't have $1,000. He didn't have $1,000 when he came to the event, but we have a service directory on the back where we show you how to get your trades, and they basically pay the license fee. It's a one-time license fee. And he sucked it up, man. He had a credit card. He had a little bit of a balance on it. He paid the $1,000 for the thing. And get this, he had never gone on a listing appointment, and he had never gone on a buyer appointment. He's a brand new agent. He'd never even sat down with anybody thinking about buying or selling. But he says, because of my system, the tools that it gave him the confidence and the tools to look like an overnight, I call it the overnight celebrity. You pop my picture off of everything, you put yours on, boom, you look like Knolly Williams with, maybe a different skin tone, a different hat. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Gotta get
right?
The cowboy hat though.
You upgrade it by popping my picture off, putting yours. Anyway, the point of the story is that he went up against, the lady interviewed 6 agents, including him. Okay. Now, he had never sold a house before in his life. He got the listing. Okay. $539,000. Okay. He made a cool 15 grand in his pocket. But what I didn't know at the time, John, because he didn't share it with me, was that when he went to the event, he was homeless. Let me say it again. When he went to the event, he was homeless. Okay. Now, he was staying he grew up in the foster care system, and he had been kicked out of the house. He was staying from friend to friend, car to car. He was like, man, this guy, he got his real estate license, so he's got the tenacity. He went to the event and he took action. Okay. Man, I call that the paycheck that you'll never spend. Now he owns his own brokerage in Boston. Okay. It's just him and 2 other agents, but he's thinking about moving to Austin. So he reached out to me. And he was like, man, I reached out. I found my original parents. I found my grandparents live in Austin, and I'm here right now. So literally, I'm going to go hang out with him this afternoon. So he went from being homeless, coming to my seminar, taking action on the things I teach. Okay, that's the key. And now he has his own brokerage, and he's thinking about moving to Austin. And he can really he has the license in 4 states. 4 states, and he's a broker. So to me, man, that's the reason why we do what we do, and the stuff works if you work it. Okay, the stuff works if you work it. So going back to this.
Hey, no, I got a human behavior question that I think you can shed some light on, because
let's talk about it.
Because you mentioned that story right there, and I'm always fascinated for when a human being goes, because if he's homeless, he's fighting for survival, the basic of human needs. That in most people, when they're fixated on just fighting for survival, they can't think about the future.
Right.
So from your experience and perspective, how does somebody go from, how do I get out of just fighting for survival to being able to get into a room to learn, to take action? Like what is the drive? What is the trigger that takes somebody past survival?
Yeah, let me tell you. So everybody starts in. Now you got me on this other track. See, hey, if it's all good, y'all know how we do. So here it is, man. Most people vacillate between fear and doubt. Okay, they're man, can I do it? Man, but I don't have a white cowboy hat, or I'm not this, or I don't have the skills John Kitchen reads. He reads a book every day. I don't have that kind of tenacity. Whatever. They make excuses, and they go from fear to doubt. Now, when you're in fear and doubt, you will never, even scripture says, let that person that's in doubt not believe that they will ever receive anything, because you're double-minded. Because here's the thing, and scripture's are quantum physics books. So when you look at quantum physics, the way quantum physics works is that we are electrical beings. Okay, we have 4 bodies. We have a spirit body, mental body, physical body, and an emotional body. When you look at the human body, we have a spinal system, okay, that's connected to all the organs, and it's your central nervous system. We are electrical beings. We are made of energy. So the way it works is when you believe. Okay, and in scripture, the word for belief is pistio, which means to fully rely in. Okay, that's what the word means, to fully rely in. Now, in the English, oh yeah, I believe that. No. See, in the reality of the root word of the belief is, if you're not taking action, then you don't believe. Okay, so Chris Anderson, he took action. Richard Anderson, he took action. So he believed, he showed, because believe is an action word. So in scripture, if I say the word pistio, which is the original Greek word for belief, I say, do you believe in this chair? What you would do is you would walk over and you would sit down in the chair, and that would prove that you believed. In America, we're like, oh yeah, I believe in it, and then we walk away, right? So we really show that we don't believe. Well, the way it works is when you're in fear and doubt, what's happening is everything that is coming into your field of view, because I look at it like a radar. Mm-hmm. So when you think about like, let's just say this is the radar screen, and when you look at a radar, any radar, all you can see, in any branch of the military, all they can see is what's on the radar. So if there's something up here, over here, over here, they can't see it. But guess what? It's coming. It doesn't matter that they can't see it. It still exists, right? But most people, what they do, John, is they look right in at what they can see. And scripture says we walk by faith and not by sight. In other words, we don't look at our radar. We don't pull up our bank account. We don't look at our revenue share dashboard and look at that as what's reality. We look at what is really happening in the bigger picture. So let's say the bigger picture is this, but your radar is this. So right now, a deal's coming, a deal's coming, a deal's coming. Man, I got 5 deals coming. I got 10 listings coming in. But then I'm like, crap, man, I'm broke. I don't have no money. Man, this ain't gonna never work for me. Guess what happens? The deals start to move, they start to back away. This is scientifically proven fact. We're energetic beings. So as we start putting out the energy of what we desire and require, the universe has to show up. There's no way around it. The universe has to perform. This is the reason why I do 20 minutes every single day of what I call imagination activation. Every single thing that you have in your life was created from the imagination. Even the world, scripture says, was created from the imagination of God. He was like, okay, I think I'm going to do this. Boom, there it is. I think I'm going to do that. And then when he created human beings, scripture says he created us in his image. Now, the word for image that it uses is facsimile or similitude. Okay, so in other words, God created a carbon copy of himself. That's what scripture says. You go back and read it. And he breathed into that carbon copy of himself the breath, okay, and it became a living being, right? So we have the same capabilities, and we can see this all around us, because every single thing, whether it be this book in front of me, your desk, the chair you're sitting in, was in someone's imagination before it became reality. Okay, now back to the question. When we vacillate between fear and doubt, every single good thing that is coming into your radar will never show up, because you're just basically pushing it away, right? But when you move to belief, it just starts coming in. And pretty soon, boom, one listing, 2, 3. But they've been on the horizon. Some of these listings that you're going to get, they started coming to you 9 months ago. But they don't show up right away. And that's what people, so we have to eliminate fear and doubt. We got to move past fear and doubt to belief. And then you actually move beyond belief. Get this. You move beyond belief to knowing. Because see, John, you don't have to believe, oh man, I believe I'm a real good coach. Like before, you're like, man, I'm not sure if I have what it takes I'm just John Kitchens. Do I really have what it takes to coach these big multi-$100 million producers and stuff? I haven't really done that kind of production. And I mean, I would always coach people. I was doing 100 deals a year. I coach people that are doing 300-400 deals a year. Okay. And so you go from fear and doubt to belief. Okay. That's the first step. Then you go beyond belief, okay, to knowing. Now you're just like, man, I'm John Kitchens, fool. What's up? I know. You don't even have to believe, because you just know. That's just what it is. But then you go beyond knowing to being. Being. That's the highest state. Okay, that's the highest state. So now I just be. I'm Knolly Williams. I know I'm going to be making $10 million a year minimum. Okay, that's not where it's going to end. And it's just going to happen through revenue share. I already know that. But it hasn't shown up yet, but it's coming, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, that's what it is, man. Richard Anderson moved from fear and doubt, and the way he did it was, when I present, man, I do a 3-hour seminar, and by the time he was like, man, I can do this, and they're like, because really, seriously, John, the aptitude that it takes to become a top listing specialist, I don't have it. Okay. I don't have that disc profile, right? So the reality is most people can outperform naturally, okay, what it took me more tenacity and more maneuvering to do just because of my profile, okay? But anybody can succeed in this game, anybody. And so that's just kind of a sort of an answer to your question. They've got to move from fear and doubt, man. They got to move from fear and doubt. And a lot of times it just really comes from, it's an internal thing. Like you either see somebody else that did it and you say, I know I can do that, or you understand your destiny, or you really start reading books like the Power of Your Subconscious Mind. That's a real big one for people to read, by Dr. Joseph Murphy, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, so that you understand how your subconscious and conscious mind works, and you start to use that to your advantage.
Yeah. Powerful. And thank you for sharing that and unpacking that for everybody, because
you bet, man.
It's just, it's, human nature and human beings. And so, moving into a new market or moving into a new segment of the market, as we're talking about today with a specific niche, I can see the fear and doubt. So how do we get them beyond that? And to me, it's no different, right? You're fighting for survival. How do you move beyond that? How do you, within your business, kind of from a standstill or some paralysis, how do you get off of that wavering to be able to take action? So let's keep going down. I know I really want to be sensitive to your time. Your calendar's tight, and I would love for us to kind of share a couple real opportunities, specific niches that we as agents can pay attention to moving into this year. And then also, kind of the consistent, persistent action. Where could they start to see, the return on that investment?
Okay, perfect. So first, what I want to talk about, just like you said, I want to talk about niches in general, so you can kind of get your reticular activator going on that. I'm going to share 8 different places that I think you should be looking for right now. Sometimes I can't do 2 things at once. So I got this funny habit, man, where I'm like, am I putting up 8 fingers? Like, I got to check, I got to check. Anyway, it's just a funny quirk, but so we're going to look at 8 specific areas that I believe are going to be the biggest opportunities in listings on the horizon, period. Okay. So if you're just like, man, Knolly, make it simple for me, just give me a few. And then what I want to talk about, John, is I want to talk about briefly, how do you know that a niche is right for you? Okay. And then I've got a couple other points, just small little nuggets that I want to share with people that I think will be very valuable. So in my book, page 179, I talk about niche, and I list some of the niches here: for sale by owners, expired, homes with pools is a niche, REO, bank owned, of course, luxury, homes on 1 or more acres, short sales, new construction, golf course communities, first-time home sellers, seniors, farm and ranch, 1-story homes, waterfront, condos, homes with outbuildings, divorce, probate, investment properties, land tracts, and so on. I have a guy right now that in our group, he owns oneacreplus.com, the number 1 acreplus.com. And that's what he specializes in. I had one of my clients reach out to me, and she was like, hey, I want to sell my property. What do you think? And it's on 10 acres. I could easily take the listing, but it's not really in my service area. So I called up Stuart Sutton. I was like, hey, man, you want to take this one? He's like, duh. If it's over an acre, I take it. I own oneacreplus.com. So guess what? When a seller has more than an acre and they see that this guy owns oneacreplus.com, immediately they think that he's going to do a better job than Knolly Williams at getting their home sold, right? Even though it's not true, it's all the perception that he's created, but it's a great perception, and he's the one that people think about. There's another friend of mine that she owns Atlanta Church Ladies, one of those .com, and you know what they specialize in, John? They sell churches, man. That's what they do. They sell churches. And the funny thing about churches is when you have a church for sale, you don't want the congregation to know you're selling your church. So It's all pocket listings. Like they don't have a sign up. You don't want to go to a church with a big for sale sign. You're like, man, I got to find me a new church. So it's all but everybody. Oh, I'm thinking about selling my church. Let's call Deidre's her name, and they call her. So don't think about that a niche could be. Niches can be crazy. Okay, but what I want to do, I want to share real quick because I made a quick list of I'm looking for my list right now of 8 that I know are going to really kind of help you guys. So number 1, strategies. These are strategies and niches. Is a trial listing. Okay, trial listing. Now I know most people don't even know what I'm talking about. It's like trial listing. But I tried this one time. I actually learned it from a friend of mine, and I had this lady who was thinking about selling her house. Her mom had passed away, and so it was going to be a probate deal, but she wasn't quite sure, John. She was like, should I sell it or keep it in the family? I'm just not sure. I don't know what to do. I said, well, Vivian, why don't we just do a trial listing? She was like, what they always do. Well, what's that? I said, well, a trial listing is where we just try it out. We list it for 4 or 5 days. If it sells, good, cool. If it doesn't, we do something else. At least that way we know what we're dealing with. Oh, I could do that. She said, that's just how she did it. Oh, I could do that. I said, okay, let's do it. So we did a trial listing. And truthfully, in today's market, I think if you have that strategy in your back pocket and you're talking to somebody and they're like, well, I'm not sure if I want to sell. I'm not sure where I'm going to go, whatever. Then the trial listing is a good thing to have in your back pocket. Just to throw out, well, have you thought about doing a trial listing? Well, what's that? Well, we can list your house for 7 days.
I like it.
Just 7 days. So now the way you do a trial listing is you go ahead and list it for the regular term, 6 months, whatever it is. And then in the special provisions, you just say, seller may terminate this listing at any time after whatever your trial listing is going to be. 7 days, 14 days, whatever it is. So that's 1. Number 2, pre-NODs. We talked about this before,
yep.
But there's a lot of people. I know there's a lot of companies that sell lists of people that have missed one payment. And back in the short sale days, I think it was Chase or Bank of America, one of them did a study, and they found out, John, that if a person misses one mortgage payment, they're 50% likely to foreclose after one payment missed. Okay, so that's when loss mitigation really started taking hold, because banks were like, look, when you miss one payment, it's a big flag. And so there's companies that will identify people that have missed one payment, and they'll provide you with their information. And you have to be strategic about how you call them. You can't be like, hey, I saw you missed a payment. Click. Well, what do you mean I missed a payment? They get hostile. So you have to pretend like you really don't know that they missed a payment, all that. There's a whole script around that. Number 3, old expireds. So we all should dust off our expired hat, but go after expireds from 2016, 2017, 2018. I know Land Voice has a real good, products. I think RedX does as well, where they basically will give you the old expireds from zip codes. And you could research these yourself, but it is like a nightmare trying to figure out, did they ever list? Did it ever sell off market? And they provide you with scrubbed, all the scrubbed leads for that. Because there's nothing more fun to me than calling somebody that was thinking about selling back in 2017, because it's non-threatening. Hey, you were thinking about selling in 2017. Have you considered what your home might be worth in today's hot market? Oh, well, I kind of have. What would it be worth? I talked to a guy actually in my neighborhood, and I said, man, have you just thought about what your home might be worth? Because he has the house for rent, and the renters moved out. And I knew the renters, they're great people. He was like, when I sent him the numbers, man, you don't even want to know what he told me, because I can't say it. It's not G-rated.
That's a great question. Just in general conversation with your neighbors, man. Have you seen what your home might be worth? That's a great question.
And guess what? When you say it that way, they always want to know, well, what is it worth? Hurry up and tell me. I'm like, oh, I got to look it up. Hold on a minute. I was like, man, have you considered what your home might be worth in today's hot market? That's the kind of question you want to ask somebody. Now, number 4 is your sphere of influence. Everybody should be on the phone, reaching out to their SOI. How you doing? How's your family? You know, today in Texas is going back to school day.
Yep.
You know, kids going back to school. So these are all good opportunities to call people. Hey, your kids are going back to school. How's it going? Whatever. It's always going to come back. Well, how are you doing? And you know what your question is. The way you answer that question is very important. Well, how are you doing? Oh, the market's hot. No. They don't want to hear any of that crap. When they ask you how you're doing, I said, the way I answer is, you know what? I'm doing okay, but I got a big problem. I mean, I got a real big problem right now. Oh, you know what? Since you asked, maybe you can help me with my problem. Well, Knolly, what's your problem? My problem is inventory. That's the problem I'm dealing with. I got a lot of people that want to move into different neighborhoods, but I don't have a house for them. I got to help these families. I really need to help these families. You know, since you asked, who do you know that's thinking about selling or buying, right? So you kind of turn that around. You got a big problem, inventory. Oh, maybe you can help me with this problem, right? Mm. So that's your SOI. That's a script around that. Number 5, probate. Okay, probate. For whatever reason, there's a lot of souls, and we're talking in the millions, that have chosen to leave the planet. See, I look at it like this, John. We come in like a flock of birds, man. I came in this planet in 1970, okay? And I came in with a whole lot of other people, and we come in the planet like a flock of birds, and we kind of leave like that, you know what I'm saying? And so there's a lot of people choosing to leave the planet within the next couple of years. That's called probate. A lot of those people will have a piece of real property that they need to liquidate. And if you're a probate specialist, then you could be the person that they trust with that. Number 6, divorce. Okay, divorce. Now, one thing, John, the pandemic has done is it's gotten a lot of couples working closer together and being together more often than they're used to being together.
Yep.
That's what the pandemic's done. Now, what it's done is 2 things. Number 1, it's helped a lot of families grow closer than they've ever been before, bonded closer. Number 2, man, we got a lot of people that don't like each other. And they realize that I really don't like, I thought I didn't like you, but now I know I don't like you.
No, you confirmed
I know, So we got some divorce situations happening at record numbers. Okay, record numbers. And that's continuing. It's going to continue for the next 3, 4, 5 years as this continues. I had a relocation situation where I got the listing, and I just had to pull it off the market because the guy's company said, you know what, with this new variant coming out, they moved him to San Jose already, man, from Austin. They said, you know what, this new variant's out. We're just gonna shut down corporate headquarters indefinitely. We're done. We're not playing this game anymore. Go back to Austin. So you're seeing a lot of stuff like that. That's happening, where people are going to be working more and more from home. Yep. And divorce is going to be a thing. Number 7, circle prospecting. This is big. Circle prospecting. Now, what circle prospecting is, John, you already know, but for those listening that may not have heard, that familiar with the term, I do go into great detail in my book about circle prospecting, the scripts and everything around it. But you sold a house in the neighborhood, you got it under contract, and then you go around to all the doors around that house, maybe 20, 30, 40 doors. You say, the house over on 101 Elm Street, I just sold that house. And we got 5 offers. And guess what? There's 4 families here and you have the contracts in your hand, right? Not the whole thing, maybe the first page or whatever. You don't show them to them, but you have them physically in your hand while you're prospecting this way. You say, I got 4 families right here. You show them. These are 4 families that wrote an offer on that house and were expecting to get it. Now, here's the first day of school. Their kids don't even have a place to live, right? Do you know anybody in the neighborhood that's been thinking about selling? Because I got to help these 4 families. See, that's a good reason to show up at somebody's door in that neighborhood. We call it circle prospecting. Now, number 8 is off the market listings. Okay. Off the market listings. You're going to see a lot of this going on. It's the reason why last month I sold a lot that was $550,000 just for the lot. Okay. It's a lakefront lot here in Austin, and it was off the market. So the guy, he put out the word that, hey, I'm thinking about selling, but man, I don't want to list or anything, but just in case anybody inquires, I got my property over here. I might consider selling it. So then the other guy in the neighborhood told someone else, the sister of the brother that came, like, hey, I want to buy your property. So they just brought me in to do all the paperwork and do everything, but it was a totally off the market situation. And those are really cool, because I mean, you don't have to charge a full fee if you don't want to. You don't ever really have to technically list the property on the MLS. You just handle all the details. It's like, and usually I'll tell them, John, you know what, I'll handle all the details for half my normal fee, for half my normal price. And I start moving my head like this. See, whenever you want somebody to make a decision, and it's the right decision for them, they might be kind of slow on it. I say, you know what, John, normally on a $500,000 lot like this, I charge $15,000. Yeah, I mean, and sometimes on lots I charge even more, because it's a lot. It takes more to market. I might charge 10%. Okay, so on a lot like this, I might charge 20, 25,000. That's what I normally charge. And they got the deer in the headlights at that point, right?
Yeah.
And I say, but for you, I don't mind. I'll go ahead and do the paperwork. I'll do it for 5,000. And then I start shaking my head like that. They're like, oh, you do it for 5,000? Yeah, I'll do it for 5,000. Yeah, it's 5,000. And then all I'm doing is drawing up the paperwork. Well, I don't even do that. I have my assistant draw up the paperwork. We put it into escrow, and then we show up at closing. I mean, that's easy. So off the market listings is number 8. So we could provide that list to everybody later, if it's helpful. How we doing on time? Yeah, we're doing
let's
all right.
go rapid fire here for the last few
let's
minutes.
rapid fire.
Two things. One, how do you know a niche is right for you? And two, kind of what should you look at, on the cash conversion cycle, the return on that investment within a niche?
Yeah, I'm glad that we had this particular talk too, because I've been wanting to do something like this around niches, a resource that I can point my people back to.
Yeah.
So how do you know a niche is right for you? So I always say that you should always pick any niche or anything really based on your personality profile. Okay, your personality profile. I wrote a book called Triple My Listings, and this is 27 marketing ideas for free seller leads. Okay, free seller leads. And what I tell people is go through here and pick 3 or 4 of these. And the way you know is when you go to one and you read it. Okay, idea number 15, circle prospecting. All right, we just talked about that idea. And then you go through and read it and you're like, man, I wouldn't do that. Don't do it. See, that's the reason why I never made a cold call in my career. Okay, now I have a lot of friends that made lots and lots of cold calls, and they're very successful, but it's just, I'm an ISC. So once you understand what your personality profile is, and you understand the dynamics around that profile, then you want to pick a niche that is commensurate with that profile. For example, an SC is good for probate. I mean, that's some boring stuff, man. SCs don't really like people. And guess what? Your clients are dead. So that's a good, it checks many of the boxes, right?
Yeah.
And so that's really it, man. You take your disc. If you go to knolly.com, you can take the disc profile for free. And Tony Robbins has a good one too. And you just take that and then look at the niche that you're thinking about and look at what it requires. And you'll know right away, like that's the niche for me or it's not. Yeah. So that's that. What was the other?
Last question here, and then we'll wrap up for everybody. What should you, from a patient standpoint, from a return on that investment, everything has a cash conversion. So what's, with the particular niche, if you're all in on it, you're really committed to it, you're staying consistent. Like, what do you say? Hey, trial listings, your return on that time and investment, it's going to be huge. 90 days, 120 days. Like what are you seeing?
No, it's real fast. So especially like a trial listing and trial listing is just something to have in your pocket, and your SOI, reaching out to them. I guarantee if you were to traverse your entire SOI list, you'll probably pick up 2 or 3 listings, but you got to have the right scripts around it. See, that's the thing, man. And in Triple My Listings, I got a lot of scripts. In Success with Listings, I got 95 scripts. A lot of people they get off the call without saying the right things, so they miss a lot of opportunities. I never miss opportunity, and missing opportunities means missing paychecks. I don't like missing paychecks. I like getting paid, right? And so yeah, it's all about what are you saying around those conversations? So the return on investment is going to be very, very quick. But I will say this, that I took 10 listings a month for 10 years in a row. Okay, some months I took 7 listings. Next month it might be 12, 13. My last year in active production, I mean, I still cap every year, but I did 153 listings. Okay, so but what we do is we break that down to the 3 buckets. So your SOI is going to be, like, let's say I wanted to do 10 listings a month. My SOI would probably be 6 of those, and then my farm might be 2, and my niche might be 2. But the reality is, John, you could actually make your niche 100% of your business. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people that are very successful at divorce, probate, different things like that, where that's their business. That's all they do is that niche. I like to say do the niche, farm, and SOI, in tandem. But yeah, the return on investment is going to be astronomical, because here's what I teach every day from 2 to 4. I mean, for 2 hours. I call it a 2x4. From 9 to 11, 4 days a week, you're doing prospecting. I call it do the 2. And that's it. You don't have to invest any more time than that, even if you want to do 100 deals a year. That's it. That's all the investment it takes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Knolly, man, you are you're a true asset to all of us at the Honey Badger Nation. And man, I love every time that we get to connect and hopefully be able to stay consistent and do it a lot more. See you, I'm sure, next week in Dallas.
You know it, man. Oh, I'm pumped, man. I'm super excited. I'm stoked. So we'll see you guys there as well. And thank you so much, John, for your time. I really appreciate it.
You. All of you guys tuning in. Make sure you guys give Knolly lots of love. Knolly.com. Books are on Amazon. Make sure you get those resources. They are tremendous resources. That's exactly what they are. They're a tremendous resource and asset for you in your business. And make sure you guys stay connected with Knolly. He is amazing. And definitely, like I said, true pleasure and a value to have you on and add value and be a true honey badger to all of us.
Honey badger for life, baby. That's it. What's up? All right.
I love it. Appreciate it. Thank you, Knolly. Thanks, guys. We'll see you.